On this week's episode of Amari Purple Talk, celebrating Prince's birthday, what freedom sounds like, sign of the times, and more. Amari Purple Talk starts now. Welcome to episode 42 of Amari Purple Talk, a Prince podcast where I share my thoughts on the purple musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, your imagination funk soloist, and let's get started. All right, so here it is. It's June 7th, Prince's birthday, and today is a day that I think that we really need a reason to celebrate and at the same time try to cope with the fact that he's not here to give us new music to help us cope with everything that's going on. And 2020 definitely is a very heavy year in which we need a reason or a soundtrack to, help us to dance through with what we have to live through. And well, what we're going to do today is we're going to keep it as festive as we possibly can. We're going to talk about music and albums and reissues and rumors, and also to, celebrate the sort of activism that he maintained during his career as well. And like I said, we're going to look for ideas for more positive solutions and kind of utilize the music that's already there to, generate some energy to make the planet a little bit better, make ourselves a little bit better, and let's dive right in. So, like I said, basically, if you look at the show notes, it basically says these will be thoughts and reflections in celebration. So, in preparing for this particular segment, I didn't really do a deep dive. Like I said, my kind of essentially non-essential, essential schedule, has kind of really kept me on my toes. And, there's been a lot of things that change on a daily basis and trying to cope and adapt. And, so I really didn't get a chance to really do a deep dive, like, pick out particular songs or albums. But really what I really wanted to do today with this segment is just kind of freestyle it a bit. Try not to take too long with this segment. But, it's heavy how this artist in particular, and probably even more so than a lot of artists that I've grown up on. And I guess that's just because of the consistency of the body of work. It's one of those, and I'm fortunate enough to gravitate towards Prince to go on that journey and then have it be a journey of consistency. And within that consistency is the fact that every album was a challenge. It challenged my expectations each and every time. Like, I think about how, like, when I was 15, the Solar Records groups, the Whispers, Shalimar, Lakeside, love those albums. But, after a while, some of them did kind of drift off into a formula. I know the Shalimar dynamic is a little different, but, it was kind of a thing where, the first couple of albums that I picked up were really great. And then the next one was kind of, that similar sound or that similar formula. And, after a while, I just kind of lost interest. And that was kind of the, probably with the exception, I don't know, Michael Jackson maybe took a little longer. Because I was there for each and every Jackson's album. And then kind of post-Thriller, You know, it was the thing of, okay, I enjoyed some albums better than others. Or really, it got to a thing of, I like certain songs on each album. Only to, say, take something like Dangerous or History to kind of go back and reflect and kind of play catch up with the music. So with Prince, it was each and every album was a challenge. I never jumped off the bandwagon. There were times when, yeah, maybe I didn't feel a certain album as much as the previous one, but the one after that, it kept me challenged, or certain albums, like I always keep going back to 3121. I loved, about 4 or 5 songs on that album, but I never really kind of got into it, and I tried to go beginning to end. But it took really a lot of you guys out there to kind of really make me take another look at that recently and go, yeah, I enjoyed this as a complete album experience. But, there's so many memories attached. Like I said, just a journey, it's weird almost, to, there's certain albums that were just there. They were in the background, or, it was a celebration, of a day, just celebrating the day, had nothing to do with this album or song in particular. Like, I don't know, maybe, the Sign of the Times album is so entrenched in how I was living in 1987. Same thing, say 1999, that really inspired, what I wanted to define myself, as an artist, not just with music, but just across the board, photography or illustration, anything with that, that was a heavy influence, I remember a previous episode of Amari Purple Talk where I equated, Prince, Michael Jackson, The Time, the solo records groups, Rick James, associating all of that and having the same impact on me in the 80s that, say, kids growing up in the 50s, that were inspired by rock and roll, or the 60s inspired by Motown to pursue music, or just the cultural impact as a whole. And even into the 90s, with the name change and everything that came with that, and the type of music he was coming out with then, the Emancipation album, the Gold Experience, just, again, amazing music. And again, it was music that would just kind of, inspire the journey or accompany the journey, or, had nothing to do with musical influence per se, but just the thing of defining freedom, defining ownership, that you have a right to pursue the type of life that you want, career-wise. You don't necessarily have to be a slave to whatever it is, a corporate structure, a 9-to-5 structure, or whatever. Or it's cool to do that for the sake of responsibility, but it's okay to dream, to want better, to want bigger, to sustain the life you want to live, whether it's that dream career, that stepping stone to that dream career, whatever. The end game is to do whatever you do and do it with that feeling of freedom, as well as, whatever you create, you own, or whatever you dream, you own. So if, you want to open that bakery, or if you want to start this business, you want to take that risk and do it. that was Prince's example from day one, from the very first album, For You. The youngest person to write, produce, arrange, and perform on their very first album. To get that from day one. And then to, fast forward 10, 15 years later to wanting, ownership of his master recordings, to control the creations to a point that once he transitioned, that, the family would benefit from that ownership. So, also too, there are, to me, there were some spiritual divergences in the 90s where, me personally felt he had kind of gone off the rails a bit, but there was mad respect for him taking responsibility for his own life and wanting to evolve. So again, it was never a thing. I never jumped off the bandwagon. It's like, okay, here's this album. I know that the Rainbow Children was a polarizing album, but that's one of the things that an artist does, challenges your expectations. And to me, I think it's one of his most boldest artistic statements. It's where I thought musically, it's what he should have been doing at that particular age, at that particular time. The Jehovah's Witness stuff, bit heavy-handed for me, but there were other themes in there too, that was speaking to the Black experience and the human experience, the life experience, the spiritual experience. So when you kind of sort through those things on that album, again, challenge of expectations, and again, it kept me consistent on the journey. The musicology tour, 2004, that was, a very healing period for me. I had lost my grandmother the year before. And with him coming, well, wasn't really a comeback, but just the way 2004, it was, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was the Grammy performance. It was joining the NPG Music Club for me. And through that, getting the preferred seating to the musicology show, when it came here to St. Louis. And, the fact, not only did he drop musicology, the album, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down to the Chocolate Invasion and Slaughterhouse and One Night Alone and Expectation. That was very, very healing for 2004. It was just so much heaviness in 2003 that, for him to drop that amount of music, to go on that tour, it healed. It was good healing for me. It literally, gave me a different outlook, to where, life goes on and, to continue living the best life that could possibly live and all of that. And then even though there were more challenges subsequently, like I said, that music, again, it was in the background. It was the soundtrack. It was the therapy. It was the celebration of, just waking up and experiencing a sunny spring day or summer day, or, the cold of winter isn't that bad, because up in Minneapolis it's a lot colder, and here he is cranking out these jams. So I mean, it can go on and on, and to get to the point to where it's like, yeah, I was happy he was able to get his master recordings. Sad in a way that he really didn't get a chance to enjoy it, or whatever plans he may have had laid out for that ownership, that he's not around to physically see the fruits of that accomplishment. But to celebrate that with probably what ended up being my favorite album of the 21st century, which is Artificial Age, and to look forward to what was coming next, the book, The Beautiful Ones, the piano microphone release, or even experiencing the tour. Here was going to be one of his next stops during that tour. But there was always so much to look forward to. But there's still a lot to look forward to. As a fan for years, for me, since the late 80s into the early 90s, as I was discovering these bootlegs, and and like all of us, thinking about the day that we can one day have him release those, and pristine and mastered and mixed. And again, that we could debate about what he would have wanted and how he would have wanted to go about it, but he also knew that this stuff would come out, but it wouldn't be him putting it out, that he would eventually physically leave it to others to do, because he would no longer be here. That even though we don't have that physical presence and that ability to look for new original content, it's a thing of, we have so much more to look forward to, because we will consistently be surprised in one way or another. Granted, there's a lot of people that claim they have everything good on them, but for the rest of us, and even for like a lot of newer people that are just coming on board too, man, these are, like I said, we're still here, and like I said, we're dealing with some heavy stuff, and especially just in the first 6 months of this year alone, that we do have this past body of work, and kind of as the next months, as we come up to 2021 and beyond, then yeah, we're going to need a lot more Prince music to, again, either carry us through, help us cope, help us get past some dark periods, and help us, celebrate, just the fact that the sun came up, or, it's spring, it's raining, you don't have to really go anywhere. You can either sit out on your porch and enjoy it, or you could sit indoors and just trip off of that hitting the window and the roof, and you just plop in. And since this is Amari Purple Talk, you can pop in really whatever great music you want. But, for best results, sometimes, oftentimes, a lot of times, just pop in that favorite Prince CD and celebrate the fact that you can experience something as simple as, like I said, rain hitting your window, and you look out that window and everything is nice and green in your yard, and or it's summer or winter, fall, whatever. You have something to help you just celebrate just being alive. So And I think that's just the thing we can carry with us. A lot of us, I'm sure we were looking forward to some of you attending the Prince celebration that was originally scheduled for this week, but canceled due to all the lockdowns and the social distancing guidelines. But again, we'll have something to look forward to at some point as we all kind of regroup, and rebuild, and some of us, can get back to full-time status or return from furlough or be in the position to have that new gig or get that career started. Then, there'll be a Paisley Park we can all go to and celebrate and talk and laugh and trade memories, like, yeah, I was going through this when this album was coming out, or I was having such a great time during this period when this album came out, or this is my favorite song because of blah 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 blah. And we'll all kick it. So I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like I said, we're all going to do what we're going to do. We're all going to break out whatever songs. There's a few things we'll be discussing later on in the show that I will probably be throughout the rest of this day trying to enjoy. And there you have it. So happy birthday, Prince Rogers Nelson. Thanks for deciding to come down to the planet at the time that you did and making a difference millions of times over with millions of individuals with every single note that you blessed us with. So peace and love, rest in peace, and we'll celebrate again next year. And now we're going to move on to the Rainbow Children and the Up All Night collection. Mine finally arrived last Tuesday, and I kind of had a chance to really break it out just today. So, I kind of opened it up and looked at the booklets, and like I said, I'm a liner note junkie. For me, I'm going to start with the Up All Night collection, and these are just my thoughts and my reactions to the reissue. So, basically, this is, for all intents and purposes, it's a reissue. So it's no remastering or anything. But these were items that I used to have in my collection, so I'm happy to have it back in my collection. But like I said, it's kind of more condensed, a lot easier for me to stack it up with the other Prince releases that I have. And yeah, it's a set that I've missed. This was a very unique period in Prince's career. Like I said, it was coming off of the Rainbow Children and the One Night Alone studio album. So hence the name of the tour, the One Night Alone tour. And this was different. There's no big lasers and set designs. It was just him, the band, and the music. And it wasn't a greatest hits tour. Again, it challenged your expectations. So, for me, the real highlight of having this back was, at first, it was just having the Rainbow Children back, because I think with everything that's going on, that we need an album like that, despite how polarizing it is. But that's kind of a reflection, and it's interesting that something like that was chosen. Of course, I know there was no forethought originally. It was just like this was the next set of releases. But sometimes timing is everything, and especially with art and with music, and art does kind of hold that mirror to society. And Rainbow Children is one of those. And I was looking forward to kind of having that back and really diving into it and listening to that album and kind of weighing my expectations on that versus to when I first heard it back in 2001. But actually, what's really captured my attention, in addition to that, is having the One Night Alone CD. Now, originally I've had it because I downloaded it from the NPG Music Club. And the thing with that, it was MP3, which isn't the greatest quality sounding medium to listen to great music. So to me, like I said, the other albums, like I said, nothing's been remastered or remixed or anything. It's just basically the original master tapes and just putting them out again. So there's no real significant difference in sound, at least for the CD anyway. I have yet to get the vinyl versions of these. And I'll say this, I know Rainbow Children is high on my list to acquire the vinyl. And the One Night Alone studio album is another one as well. But for the CD, because this is the act from the actual master recording and it's formatted for CD and for vinyl, that for me playing this CD was the highlight, because when you listen to this on whatever sound system that you have, if you have the CD, if you have the vinyl, let me know what your experiences are with the vinyl on that. I do know that this is something that I will get on vinyl pretty soon. So the sound of the One Night Alone studio album is absolutely amazing. And I've enjoyed it since I've had it. It's not one that I've played often, but as I would think about it from time to time, I would break it out, and I think because it was just the MP3 medium, I would only get through so many songs, and then it's like, I just want to listen to something else. Not that it was a bad album. I mean, I enjoyed it beginning to end, and the aesthetic of it, I get it, and it was different. Prince was doing a lot of different stuff, which again, at that time is what I expected, with his newfound freedom to say, okay, well, one day I'm going to put out an album and it's just going to be me on the piano. And then I'm going to put out a little instrumental, experimental jazz type thing like Expectation. And then I'm just going to toss out this live album. So it wasn't anything that I was down on. Like I said, it was just that whatever I was going through, good days, bad days, whatever, when I would think about it, I would break it out. But having played this and hearing it the way it's supposed to be heard, again, whether it's the CD or the vinyl version, to me, those are the mediums in which something like this needs to be heard. If you only have it via streaming, if you do streaming, if you have Tidal, that would probably be the best way to listen to it, streaming wise. But I would recommend you get this set. Get the Up All Night set, or if you just want to hear this and you're a fan of vinyl, definitely get this on vinyl. I'm definitely going to get it regardless, but let me know what you think of the vinyl version of this, because this is absolutely, I can't stop saying it, amazing. It's weird because I think, there's moments, and I've seen a lot of people on social media where they're like, it's like you hear certain songs and you just miss, again, that physical presence that's cranking out new music and challenging our expectations, or, meeting our expectations with something new, and for me, just listening to the One Night Alone CD, like I said, it's him and the piano, and it's, there's other instruments here and there, but, just, just really take the time and listen. I don't want to put anybody through too much of an emotional trip, but, just pure artistry and just pure music. It's like just organic, and there's no drum machines and there's no computers or anything like that. It's just organic music. And like I said, whether it's, like for me, like I said, I've never had the luxury of, and it's not a luxury, but what I'm saying is that, I haven't been one of the ones to just stay home. It's like, what I do, it never it closes here and there for different things or for whatever reason, or the hours are shorter. But, I've never had that quarantine. And I see a lot of people on social media, and they're breaking out books and breaking out movies and breaking out albums and just kind of passing the time away. For me, it's like I'm always on my toes and wondering what's going to happen next. And, you show up and things change. And, I'm personally in need of a vacation where I just need to focus just on me, just to kind of just really just detox from all this craziness, because it's, it's worrying about a lot of different things. But when I got to sit down and just really listen as I was kind of preparing the show notes, I mean, I literally took a pause and was like, this is something, it's therapeutic, it's calming, it's, again, it's just pure music, Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff where we can, get the dance on and all that stuff. But like I said, just to, I recommend that at some point, if you have this and whatever you're dealing with, whatever, your job description or what you're dealing with in life, and, we're all fighting the good fight. I'm using this show as a platform. Just take a pause for just a minute, because if there's anything that will give peace a chance, would be this, just to sit back and just listen to some pure music. So the and that's just the One Night Alone studio album. The next thing I had to break out with, just because it's just so damn good, is the It Ain't Over CD of this set. And really, it's hard for me to really sit down and try to listen to the whole thing, because I just can't get past Joy and Repetition. This is my favorite live rendition of this song. And this was something, I don't know, he didn't really bring out a lot. The first live version I heard was from the release party for Emancipation that aired on, I think it was MTV, I think. And I mean, I love the studio version of it. I had the bootleg before I got Graffiti Bridge, so this was pretty much a favorite Prince song of mine for, I think like a year, 2 years, year and a half, before it even popped up on Graffiti Bridge. But like I said, it was one that, I hadn't heard him pull out live a lot. At least, my first time hearing it again was from that release party that was on MTV. And I don't know, I think I might have heard one or two versions since then. But once this was released, this hands down is it as far as live versions. I love the studio version. But for the live version, this is it. I know We Do This. I don't know. It's always, I was always kind of a bit, maybe my expectations are a bit too high when it comes to Prince and George Clinton collaborating, because I always felt like there should have been more, a whole lot more, and a whole lot deeper to their collaboration. So I was a bit disappointed when I first heard We Do This, but during the Prince Sirius XM channel, there was at one point I was coming home and this happened to come on, the Sirius XM. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, it's not okay, I kind of like it. So I like it a little better. So again, hoping to spend a little more time with this set. Again, like I said, I love the CD book. Like I said, I'm a liner note junkie, and I'm glad that the lyrics to the songs on the One Night Alone studio set are included with this. That was, pretty good, whoever decided to do that, instead of just sticking us with just the CD with that. So like I said, the One Night Alone, the live album itself, was something I played quite a bit of when I had it the first time and enjoyed it a lot. So I'm looking forward to getting reacquainted with that and kind of just getting reacquainted with the CD, as opposed to how I've been hearing it streaming wise lately. So, or if my ears hear things differently now as opposed to when I first heard it. And of course there's a difference in physical mediums as well. So looking forward to that, and also to the Rainbow Children. Again, like I said, looking forward to getting reacquainted with that again, in a physical format versus streaming. And if for those of you that are just jumping on and you've kind of acclimated yourself with a lot of the classic material, or you've gone through the hits or got the greatest hits packages, in whatever way, shape, or form, and if you really want to do a deeper dive, and if you really want a masterclass in versatility as an artist, to which will add to your longevity, these are the reissues I would definitely recommend. Again, it's just like I said, with the One Night Alone studio version, just the natural instruments, it's organic, no computers involved. But to put this in a live setting, if you want to, like I said, if you've got whatever Purple Rain Deluxe, if you got 1999 Deluxe, and you want to see just pure artist rebellion, then I recommend, check that out. But if you want to see how that has evolved and how the artistry has evolved, then by all means, pick up this One Night Alone set. You will not be disappointed. So, and especially, if you're musicians or younger musicians, again, this set and the Rainbow Children it's a masterclass. So check it out, study it, learn it, enjoy it, and let me know what you think. Do you guys, have you had a chance to get your set? Which one did you get? Did you get the Up All Night, which kind of included everything? Did you get just the Rainbow Children? Did you just get the One Night Alone CD set? Did you get it on vinyl? Did you get it on CD? And how have your listening experiences been enhanced by the listening? So leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And from there, we are now going to go back. And we're going to talk about those Sign O' the Times Super Deluxe rumors. Okay, so probably within the last week or so, a configuration of the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition was leaked. We don't know, or at least I don't know the source of it. Again, there has been no word from the estate. There has been no word from Warner Brothers regarding the authenticity of this information. However, there was information that leaked that basically just says product info. Artist, of course, is Prince. Title is Sign of the Times. The release date has it at September 18th of 2020. Released by Warner Brothers, and it will be released all over the world September 18th, 2020. Now, again, no official word from the estate and no official word from Warner Brothers. But there are rumors that an announcement is going to be made today. Now, I'm recording this very early in the morning at this stage. So as the day progresses, either there will be an announcement or there will not be an announcement. But there's also been rumors that the announcement has been pushed back for a couple of weeks. So we won't get an announcement until maybe the end of the month. So let's take all of that with a grain of salt, as well as the product information that's been released. So apparently, allegedly, the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition will come either, it'll be apparently allegedly released as an 8 CD and 1 DVD, also a 13 LP and DVD, and of course digitally for Apple Music or wherever you download your digital formats, and probably as well as streaming as well. There will be a 3 CD edition, which I'm going to assume will be the 2 original Sign of the Times discs, and the 3rd CD will probably be a collection of unreleased material, I'm assuming. There's also a 4 LP version, and then just a 2 CD remastered version, which will be a remastering of the original album. And it also says that the remastered 2 LP limited edition will be peach vinyl. That will be for the initial run, then reverting back to black vinyl. So again, take all of that information with a grain of salt. Again, there's no official word from Warner Brothers or no official word from the estate as of yet. So But this is enough to get me hyped and excited. Because as we know, Sign of the Times is my favorite Prince album, period. So this would be something I'm looking forward to. If you want to go back, I couldn't tell you how far to go back, but I did do episodes of Amari Purple Talk where we put forth the question, will Warner Brothers release a Sign of the Times Super Deluxe as their sort of final money making? And I'm calling it a cash grab, not in an offensive sort of way, but it's a business decision. It's a business move. And a pretty smart and shrewd business move as well. Because in 2021, the estate will license that classic period from 78 to 94, roughly. So all that Warner Brothers material, the estate will license to Sony. The classic material under a restructured deal that Prince made with Warner Brothers once he got the ownership to those master recordings. That was a contract that Warner Brothers says was to remain valid until 2021. So basically what happens is after 2021, then those master tapes will be licensed under Sony. Now, because Prince owned those master recordings, therefore the estate, so his brothers and sisters and other family members, they own those master tapes and they have final say as to what can be released and what cannot be released. Like I said, they're honoring the original deal that Prince made with Warner Brothers. But once that ends, then Sony will get the licensing to that, and probably from there you will see some very interesting things. Probably not within the next year or so, or maybe not. But as far as what you will see regarding any reissues or remastering or box sets or super deluxe editions, like I said, Sony has a pretty good track record on that, but that will be a discussion again for another episode. But long story short, I thought that having Warner Brothers, this will be the last chance. They've already released Purple Rain. Of course, they will continue to own Purple Rain beyond 2021. Any movie soundtrack that Prince has done, which means Purple Rain, Parade, Batman, Graffiti Bridge, those things will remain with Warner Brothers. So if there's any deluxe editions, box sets, reissues, remastering, that will still come out under Warner Brothers. So that being said, they could have played it safe and just release Parade, because there's been rumors that a Parade Super Deluxe Edition is finished. But also too, like I said, as a very shrewd and decisive business move, this is your last chance of having the classic Prince material. Now, like I said, you got your 4 cards in the movie soundtracks, which you're going to have to spread those releases out, over time. It's going to be almost like Disney used to be back in the day, where it's like, oh, well, we're going to put this out, and now we're going to take it back and we're going to lock it in the vault for 10 years. And then the next generation is going to do, we'll put it out for the next generation of kids, whatever. So this is what you're probably going to see with those movie soundtracks. So to come out with Sign of the Times as sort of your last gasp, your last chance at doing something and making money while you've got this material in hand. And like I said, you've already come out with Purple Rain Deluxe. You've already come out with a 1999 Super Deluxe Edition. And you saw how well that was going. So you really don't have a lot of cards left. Yeah, and, like I said, all Prince fans out there, we all have our own favorites. But they're not going to make as much off of an Around the World in the Day, regardless of how awesome that would be as a Super Deluxe set. They could have played it safe with Parade, but the thing with Parade that it is such an eclectic set, I guess if that's the correct word. It's so almost avant-garde of a set that, yeah, you'd make a little bit more money than you would with Around the World in a Day with that. And you're not going to make as much off of a Diamonds and Pearls box set or Super Deluxe set. Sign of the Times for a lot of Prince fans is their absolute favorite Prince album. To me, it was sort of and even though what it is maybe even exceeded my expectations, but basically it was always the type or the tone of that album. I'll say the tone of that album was what I always wanted to hear after sometime around 1999 or maybe after Purple Rain. We got Around the World in a Day and we got Parade, and they are what they are, and they're both great albums. But Sign of the Times is that Super Deluxe that would stand up with the previous two. In other words, Warner Brothers almost treated this almost like a movie trilogy. And I'm going to use an MCU reference as an analogy. Your Purple Rain Deluxe, while it was long anticipated, maybe wasn't as strong as far as the quantity of material, and it was also debatable in regards to the quality, but it was a pretty strong release, kind of similar to, say, Captain America: The First Avenger. Your 1999 Super Deluxe Edition, that is your Captain America: Winter Soldier, where that was the second big anticipated release. It was definitely stronger in quantity and quality than the Purple Rain Super Deluxe. But your Sign of the Times Super Deluxe, if this is true, if Warner Brothers is the one releasing this, and if this does come out this year, this will be their Captain America Civil War. This is your Sign of the Times. It is basically, it's going to have its Black Panther, it's going to have its Spider-Man in those bonus tracks and vault material. That's it. It's definitely going to be worth the popcorn on that for sure. So if it's true, yeah, and if it comes out this year, yeah, I'm excited for it. I still think Sony would, if they were the ones releasing it, that they would do a slightly better job of it. In other words, to me, if this was Sony doing it, I would definitely would want them to treat it as if it was a Miles Davis box set reissue. the equivalent of a Bitches Brew box set. That's the magnitude. Now, that can still happen. It would probably be about 5 years, maybe almost 10 years or so before it does happen, to where I think you would get the absolute ultimate Sign of the Times package if it was Sony releasing it. But if Warner's is releasing it, and like I put forth the question, are they swinging for the fences by putting this out? Yes, definitely. So I'm definitely looking forward to it if it's true. But what's most important is, what do you think? Do you think that this is true? Do you think we're going to get an announcement either sometime today or in the next few weeks, next month? Or do you think it's all just one big huge rumor, and that Warner Brothers will actually end up just putting out Parade, and that Sony will put out Sign of the Times in the next few years or so? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And now we're going to move to our next topic. And like I said, last week I said I wanted to use this opportunity with Amari Purple Talk, with Amari Communications in general, given the nature of the things that have occurred just this year alone, that this is a platform. We can entertain, and of course, we focus on music. And like I said, I really wanted to keep this positive. And kind of where I'm going with this, we're not going to focus on the negative aspects, but we want to be able to try to turn things around and start the healing process. And like I said, try to leave this planet a little bit better than how we found it. And, treat each other a little bit better, or a lot better, in the process as well. So what I want to do is kind of based on the definitions, or the sort of bullet points that Prince wanted to achieve in writing The Beautiful Ones, that this was that book was originally intended to be a beacon of hope for freedom, ownership, and finding definition of funk, where, say, the word magic was sort of Michael Jackson's term, in which Michael always wanted to create magic to make the world a better place. Prince kind of wanted to make the world funkier, define what funk is. In the context, I think what my interpretation of it is that if you have that freedom, you have that ownership, and whether it's within that journey, or both the journey and the accomplishment, then you got that feeling of funk, that thing that makes that neck move. It's what Alan Leeds calls rhythm and blues without rules. That thing that just makes you move. It moves you, or it removes what ails you as well. So what we're going to start with this week is defining freedom. And like I said, with this being Prince's birthday, in addition to celebrating the music and the previous topics that we discussed, we're also going to discuss things throughout his career that mattered the most, or throughout his life mattered the most. And we're starting with freedom, and how can we integrate some of that philosophy within our own lives as well. And we have to start looking at his career from the very beginning, from day one, from the type of musician he wanted to be. from demanding on his very first record contract, something that a lot of people getting into the music business, almost even to this day, that started at a later age than even him, or he, they don't have that type of freedom in their recording contracts. And, again, that very first contract was great. It helped him establish and define the type of artist that he wanted to do. He had freedom to record whatever he wanted, to look however he wanted, to sound like however he wanted. He even had freedom to choose his own singles, and for decisions like When Doves Cry and Kiss, yeah, very smart decisions. And then, there were things like, say, with the Sign of the Times record. Yep, Sign of the Times itself, great choice for first single. That was practically a no-brainer. But where the rest of us, if it was our album, we would have put out a Housequake or an Adore as the next single, swinging for the fences, getting all the money we can. He drops If I Was Your Girlfriend, which, it's hard to kind of, for a lot of Prince fans, and especially a lot of newbies or Prince fans, if you jumped on the bandwagon, say in the 90s or whatever, and you stumbled upon that record, it was a very polarizing record. I got the meaning of it almost right off the bat with it, but I also knew that it would just confuse a lot of folks because they would just take it in a whole nother direction. And the world just wasn't quite ready for that yet. But now, you have the hindsight, you have, either it was Wendy or Susanna that sort of explain the song's origins, and you get the full meaning of what that song means. Then it's like, you get it, and it's right there in the lyrics, anyway. But, when you just hear the chorus or the hook, then yeah, it throws you off. You think it's about something else altogether. But, like I said, a lot of us wouldn't have chosen that for a single. That's a deep album cut. But that was the thing. Again, he always wanted to challenge our expectations. He always wanted to challenge what our thought process is or what our beliefs are, or whatever. It was always a challenge with that. So, later on, then it became a thing of where he was able to get so far with the freedom that he had, and then, the corporate structure put a ceiling on him that he didn't agree with. Even though it would have yielded great financial success, the sort of, the fine print on the contract was a wake-up call. And it was like, I can't do that. That's against whatever, or it's like, well, who are you to tell me I can't record with so-and-so, or I can't, hey, I'm a guitar player, and hey, I think I'm just as important as a Hendrix or Santana or Van Halen or Clapton or whoever. So tell you what, let me do an interview with a guitar magazine or guitar player, and hey, let me just give them a CD of me just playing some hella guitar. And then the people can get it for free within the magazine. And Warner Brothers was like, oh, naughty boy. No. You can't do that. So, then the fight became about, let me get out of my Warner Brothers contract. And, from there, let me get control of my publishing and let me fight to get my master tapes back. And, that for me was a very inspiring journey. There's times when I've been able to do exactly what I wanted to do and, be compensated for it. And then there are times, where I've had to grudgingly or for whatever reason, responsibility, whatever, to deal with the sort of corporate structure, so to speak. But, when someone else is writing the checks, they are always going to put some type of chains on you. And you sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but the end game itself is freedom. And there are a lot of us that that have had those ceilings placed, and you feel that you can't do anything. You feel helpless, and that's what those ceilings are designed to do, to make you feel so helpless that you can't function. There's something that's called irregular work schedule, and it is only illegal in the state of Vermont and the city of Berkeley, California, and the city of San Francisco, California. So, meaning everywhere else this is legal. And those of you that are, at a whatever, quote unquote 9 to 5. Now, a legitimate 9 to 5 or an office job, you're there Monday through Friday. You're there from whatever, 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or 7 to 3 or whatever. And that's it. You may do some overtime, like an hour or so, but you basically know that you have your weekends off. You're guaranteed X amount of holidays and paid time off or whatever. But for a lot of people that do not work those type of jobs, especially those that have more than, 2 shifts, you are at the whim of the person that employs you. So, and a lot of you have probably experienced this where, say, you work a shift and you get off at, say, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night or so. And then they want you to turn around and come back in at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. Consistently. Not, because of a special circumstance like, so-and-so's going to be out, if you're available, could you do this? It's like, no, this is your schedule. And it could it can change on a whim. It could change on a dime. So that way you don't have the luxury of taking your time for granted. Meaning that, okay, you may have worked this whatever schedule, and now you've got Monday and Tuesday off. So you've been doing that for about 2 weeks. So then you start to plan your third week, like, okay, cool. So Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to do this. And then that second week, they're like, next week we want you to come in Monday, Tuesday, and now you're off Thursday and Sunday. And it's like, And like I said, it's really designed to beat you down so you don't have time to think about your life, or you don't have time to question certain things. And why I say the way that it's illegal in Vermont and illegal in Berkeley and San Francisco, California, is because there, when you notice that, then you have a right to say, hey, I can't do this. I need this time. I need those days. And for, I need to have those days off, and it's up to you if you want to volunteer to do whatever, an extra shift or extra hours or whatever. Where everywhere else, if you protest, it just falls on deaf ears. So, to be free means that you want to place yourself in a position. Like I said, you don't forsake responsibility, but to me, it's like this. Say, like, if you have a part-time job, then those days off, you are working diligently to pursue your life's purpose. So if it's that dream job or that dream career, then those days off, or you want to get to a certain plateau to where maybe it's not about the dream job. Whatever you're doing, you feel you legitimately make a difference, but it's now finding the freedom to kind of have that work-life balance. So you work hard, you enjoy what you do, but then, hey, you may want to go to Hawaii for more than a week, So it's about pursuing what you need to do or taking the steps during that time off, whether it's like, okay, I need to find a way to get this to full-time or find a full-time position that will allow me the freedom to do whatever. If it's a full-time gig, then you are diligently working to fulfill your life's purpose, which means that you're handling your responsibilities and you're trying to put away what you can put away. You can, whatever, invest what you need to invest to say, okay, this is my 5-year plan. And that's the thing. If you hit that full-time thing and it's not your life's purpose to be at this place, it's not what you want to end up, then you put that ceiling on to say, okay, this is my 2 to 5 year plan. And you implement from almost day one that 5-year plan. Because the goal is for you to be free to pursue your life's purpose. Because a lot of these places don't have your best interests at heart. It's, what they call wage slavery almost. It's like I said, they utilize this irregular work schedule to disrupt your work-life balance to the point that your life becomes this place. And, they don't care if you're, how you're feeling or what you're feeling. So long as you're able to come in and clock in and you do what's assigned to you, that, your dreams and your goals and your plans become irrelevant. So, like I said, taking inspiration, if you are a Prince fan and you find yourself in this particular set of circumstances, like I said, he laid his career on the line, and, so not only he can benefit, but even later in life, in attempting to mentor other artists, younger artists that were coming in, but like I said, an artist, their thing is to hold that mirror to society. And it wasn't just about music, for me in a lot of areas, like I said, that freedom, because basically I'm not tied to a major record contract. I can pretty much record whatever I want, and can put out whatever I want. So that's cool here. I can put out a podcast if I want to. There's a lot of things that I, as far as the creativity side of my life, there is that freedom. But like I said, there's things that, were done, like I said, and never mistake responsibility for your divine purpose, and never be ashamed of what you do for the sake of responsibility. It's just that, we're all here for a purpose. Our ancestors were here for a purpose. You're here for a purpose. Your children, your descendants are all here for a purpose. So, never be afraid of being responsible, or never be ashamed of being responsible. But if there is a place that you feel that you legitimately make a difference, then it's okay to go there. It's okay to do that. It's okay to kind of rethink some things, and have a plan, and have 2 or 3 to back it up too. And, I think a lot of us are waking up to that fact. I believe that a lot of, other cultures are, aligning with the Black Lives Matter movement is because it's recognized, that, a lot of other cultures have had certain ceilings placed upon them that they've had to overcome, and have managed to overcome by being unified as a culture, where they're looking at all this injustice and all the murders that have been taking place, and they're looking at what happens. They see that the ceilings, not only are there ceilings, there's still chains. They're not physical chains, but an unfair prison system, there are physical chains as well. But to see that even in the 21st century, that there's this type of oppression that still exists, and you really can't turn a blind eye to it. That's just as inhuman as, the act of racism or overt racism itself. Racism, white supremacy exists, and it's a disease, it's a cancer. To me, it's more of a cancer than it is a virus. But, it's something that, in order for human beings to maintain, and to also maintain an equilibrium with this planet, or maintain an equilibrium with nature itself, we have to balance out this equation by eliminating that cancer. And to say that, or to feel like that's a problem within itself, or you can't look at your culture and its history and think that it's that easy, because number one, it wasn't, and number two, the circumstances are much different and much unbalanced. So, that having a freedom to be able to make decisions for your own life, that's imperative. And Prince, as a black man, as a black musician, as a man, that's why freedom mattered to him. And then to turn around and want to be either that elder statesman or live by example, to say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. And like I said, it's inspiring. There's a lot of artists and non-artists that can benefit from that example, or take inspiration from that example, and that's why, that's just one. I've got many other inspirations, and there's other things that I've either studied or read or experienced, or putting that information into the process of experience to see what's relevant, to see what's not relevant, to define my journey, or to define what freedom means to me. And yeah, that's, sort of what my goal is, to be able to create and have that creation self-sustaining, because like I said, there's too many ceilings, and until those ceilings are removed, it's a challenge to be recognized or respected, or to be given what you're worth, or be compensated for what you're worth. But like I said, that inspiration is there, and that's one of the inspirations to fight for that and to demand that. And in Prince's own words, and that's just simply because I think I'm great. I just think I'm great. So freedom, so what does it mean for you? What is it that you would like to do, or are you pursuing it? Are you putting it in action, or or do you need a reason for things to kind of go into motion? Or what is that definition of freedom for you? Leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts. I definitely would like to hear what your dreams are, and what you want to accomplish. So let me know. And with that, we are going to actually move on to our Purple Spotlight. In our Purple Spotlight, it's a segment that highlights a Prince album, film, video, or an associated artist. And today's Purple Spotlight is not necessarily on an associate artist, but an associated artist's mom. In fact, a mom that has made such a tremendous difference in not only Prince's life, but with a lot of black youth in Minneapolis. And that is Bernadette Anderson. She is the mother of Andre Simone. Andre, who was Prince's best friend all through school, was in their first band together, Grand Central, when Prince made it big as a recording artist. Andre was Prince's first bass player. But in those formative years, Andre's mom took in Prince kind of during, I think, like his last year of high school, kind of within that period. Let him stay in their house, and basically, he could stay up late and do music, but the conditions were he had to finish his schoolwork, and he definitely had to finish high school. So, this was, like I said, a woman that has made a tremendous difference in Prince's life, as well as the difference in a lot of black youth in Minneapolis. This is somebody that is sorely missed there. She was born May 21st, 1932, and passed away on October 7th of 2003. And Bernadette was very active with the PTA, worked in the Minneapolis public school system as a social worker's assistant, was on the staff of the YWCA. She was director of youth programs and the teen club. Her resume is very impressive. Was a chairperson of the KMOJ board of directors. President of the Minneapolis Urban League Guild, a member of the Phyllis Wheatley Center's board of directors. And then when opportunities came up to work more with the youth of Minneapolis, she would always take advantage of it. Was also part of the Minneapolis Urban League Seniors in Community Service Program. So I mean, the list just goes on to, like I said, the tremendous difference that she's made in the community. And everywhere, every inner city needs a Bernadette Anderson. Again, we talk about Black Lives Matter. We talk about the ceilings that have been placed. We talk about what they're calling systemic racism, whether it's overt, whether it's based on ignorance, whether it's institutional. There were soldiers like a Bernadette Anderson there, steering kids in the right direction. When you have a lot of ceilings placed on you, the frustration mounts to a point that the helplessness sets in. And when there's not a unified culture, then you need a Bernadette Anderson to come in and make that difference. And if nothing else, give you a direction, give you hope, or just to simply let you know that you are worthy, you're valuable, you're necessary, you matter in that. And, this is, in reading The Beautiful Ones, there's within those 50 handwritten pages, he does begin to mention Bernadette Anderson and the amount of, difference that was made in his life. And in the side notes, there was talk of devoting an entire chapter. So, that speaks volumes. When you devote an entire chapter of your own memoir, or considering devoting an entire chapter of your life story to the one person that made that significant difference. Because I'm telling you, if, I remember, what was it? Musician Magazine, 1983. One of the few interviews that Prince ever gave during that period. And it's mentioned how Prince ended up living at Andre's house. And this is, to me, I think was the first time I've heard Bernadette's name mentioned in sort of the Prince lore, so to speak. So, so the it's all there, just in just that little bit there. So to be honest, I think if it was not for her taking him in, I don't think we'd have the Prince that we'd have now. And it's not to say he probably wouldn't have become something, but I think the values that she helped instill into him, and not that, there were any, but then coming from a broken home, also, near homelessness. Again, like I said, that type of despair can easily tip you over to the other edge, to where maybe music wouldn't have made a difference. Or, like I said, maybe he would have made it, but it would have been different. He could have easily ended up either, who knows, a one-hit wonder, or somebody that had the potential to be what he ended up becoming, but it would have been capped for whatever reason. There may have, it could have led to any problems or any situation. So to me, that's that sort of defining moment, that tipping point, by taking him in and giving him some stability and, love and a home. to welcome this kid into the fold of his best friend's family, and be treated like one of the family on top of that. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the seeds of his own activism was influenced by that, to where he used his career as a platform to initiate change, or to bring up the possibility of change, to say love for one another on the one hand, to say Black Lives Matter on the other hand, but the basics, coming from that community in Minneapolis, and to see in other, again, inner cities, where we don't have that unified culture that we need, like the rest of the planet, like I said, there needs, you need that beacon of hope, of inspiration. Like I said, just that sense of community, or that sense of activism that says that you do matter. And like I said, I wanted to use this as a platform to say these things, to lend another voice to it, and to say, yeah, it's cool. We got all this Prince music that we can groove to and dance to and romance to, and and there's also messages too, and these are the inspirations for those. She only had, or she started off with just having a high school diploma, but she did go back to school and furthered her education that allowed her the opportunity to, participate and be a part of a lot of these programs that I've mentioned. And if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe she's the inspiration to the song "Make Your Mama Happy" that's on Crystal Ball, because it talks about, a lady that went back to school and, got her PhD and went on to do greater things, to make a greater difference, not only for her family, but again, for others. And I'm sure there's somebody like that in a lot of inner cities or in a lot of communities. Doesn't have to necessarily be the inner city, but if there aren't, there need to be. You need one. You need an example like this. You need somebody to go in and help these kids out. They, like I said, there's so many ceilings, whether it's coming from broken homes or dysfunctional homes or abusive homes, to where, their only meals, their breakfast and lunch only come from school. We need somebody to be the voices for those. It's easy to be comfortable wherever you are and to think that the world can just get over it. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. You need to have a little bit more compassion, before making blanket statements like that. So, like I said, this is an opportunity, like I said, to, we've highlighted a lot of the associated artists and the musicians, but to me, and especially with everything going on, this is somebody, like I said, that Prince definitely championed throughout his career, and somebody that he cared deeply for, as if it was a member of his own family, because he was taken in as if he was a member of the Anderson family. So, Bernadette Anderson, this is the Purple Spotlight. It's shining on you, and it's now going out to the rest of the whole Purple musical singularity. And I encourage everybody to kind of check out her story, and like I said, let it be an inspiration for you to create platforms in which you can help somebody as well. And that will end the Purple Spotlight. I was going to do a Bite the Boot segment on Prince celebration, the year 2000. We'll bump that up to next week, next episode for that. Spend a little more time on that one. But definitely, I wanted to cover definitely a lot of the music and celebrate the music, and even some of the most important issues in Prince's life. I think more so than just in just the way that you and I would celebrate a birthday. I know he was kind of down on celebrating birthdays over the last decade or couple of decades. But I think if we were going to put any emphasis on his date of birth, then I think he would have wanted us to kind of focus on the things that are happening on this planet as we speak. Like I said, we're dealing with Black lives. There's a lot of people also protesting, not only for that, but, there's a lot of things that mankind is and womankind is waking up to see that, yes, something is still definitely very wrong with the world in the 21st century. And the only way to fix it is together. And like I said, there's too many people being unjustly murdered. No, what's the song, folks? No one man will be ruler, therefore love will rule us all. No one is given the right to play judge, jury, and executioner. Across the globe, if you want to have a system of law and a system of justice, then you can't have one person be judge, jury, and executioner. You can't have one person just feel like they can say anything that they want without any forethought or compassion for the diverse number of people that they are supposed to be governing. It doesn't become where it's a fair and just govern. It becomes a dictatorship. And again, when there's ceilings placed on you, your job is to basically remove the ceiling. And I think that's the emphasis that he would want on his birthday. Like I said, let's enjoy the CDs. Let's spend the rest of the day, reminding ourselves of the difference that the music makes within us. Whatever your favorite song, whatever your favorite album, whatever your favorite film, whatever your favorite video, by all means, get down, be on the one, and enjoy it. But like I said, get into some of the messages as well. Explore those, and especially some of the newbies. Hey, if you like the Beatles, if you like Bob Dylan, if you like Curtis Mayfield, if you like Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album, then, there are songs within the Prince catalog that equally have something important to say as well. And if it inspires you to make changes within yourself, within your own life, or help make a difference in someone else's life, or be a catalyst or be a voice for change, then like I said, let's tap into that frequency. Let's tap into that love frequency, that spiritual frequency. You know, brothers and sisters, let's tap into that ancestral spirit. Take a trip to the ancestral realm. And, you know, let's figure out how we can survive all of this. So, and like I said, with the rhythm it takes to dance to what we have to live through, let's figure out how we can dance underwater and not get wet. And with that, we're going to end this very special Prince episode, Prince birthday episode of Amari Purple Talk. And you can always find me on Twitter at RichardCole_now, on Instagram at RichardCole_Amari. I'm grateful for everyone that picks up the show when I promote on Facebook. So please follow me on Twitter. Please follow me on Instagram, because face crook, folks. Face crook. Anyway, tune in next week. Like I said, we'll discuss Prince, a celebration, for our next consideration for Bite the Boots. I think that's an interesting set of performances, especially the 2000 one. So we're going to definitely have that next week. But until then, definitely keep it purple and on the one.